The perfect trap, the void of space, shimmered as 15 Zephyrian warships materialized from hyperspace, their crystalline hulls catching the distant light of the Meridian System's twin stars. Admiral Korvex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Dominion, his 4 arms crossed behind his back as he surveyed the tactical display with satisfaction. His species had ruled this sector of the galaxy for over 3 millennia, and today would mark another easy victory in their continued expansion. Target acquired, Admiral, his tactical officer, Commander Vissis, reported. Her voice carried the melodic tone typical of their species, but underneath lay the excitement of anticipated conquest. Single vessel, human origin, appears to be conducting research operations near the asteroid field. Korvex's large, multifaceted eyes focused on the lone ship drifting among the space rocks. The vessel was unremarkable by Zephyrian standards, a bulky, angular design that spoke of primitive engineering and limited aesthetic sense. Humans, he thought with disdain, the galaxy's newest spacefaring species, barely a century beyond their homeworld, and already they dared to venture into contested space. Vessel specifications, he inquired, his translator rendering his harmonic speech into standard Galactic. Designation reads, Aurora's Edge, Admiral. Approximately 800 meters in length, standard human composite construction. Energy readings suggest basic fusion drives and minimal defensive capabilities. No weapon signatures detected. Korvex allowed himself a moment of amusement. The Galactic Council had been making such noise about humanity's potential, their rapid technological advancement and adaptability. Yet here was proof of their limitations. Single research vessel, alone and vulnerable, conducting whatever primitive studies these mammals called science. Establish a communications link, he commanded. Let us see what these humans have to say for themselves. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the bridge of the human vessel. A woman sat in the captain's chair, appearing to be in her 40s, with shoulder-length dark hair streaked with silver. Her brown eyes held a calm intelligence that immediately unsettled Korvex, though he couldn't quite identify why. Human vessel, he began, his words automatically translated. You are in violation of Zephyrian territorial space. I am Admiral Korvex of the Imperial Fleet. You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded or face immediate destruction. The human captain studied the surrounding ships with what appeared to be mild curiosity rather than fear. She leaned forward slightly, her hands clasped calmly in front of her. Captain Maya Rodriguez of the research vessel Aurora's Edge, she replied in accented standard. Admiral, according to our star charts, this is the disputed Meridian Sector neutral space under Galactic Treaty. We're conducting authorized scientific research. Korvex's facial plates shifted in what his species considered a predatory expression. Treaties are for equals, Captain. Humanity has yet to prove itself worthy of equal standing. You have 30 seconds to comply with our demands. Captain Rodriguez was quiet for a moment, then did something that made Korvex's skin crawl with an unfamiliar sensation. She smiled. Not the fearful grimace he expected, but a confident expression that seemed to suggest she knew something he didn't. You know, Admiral, she said, turning slightly away from the screen. We humans have a saying about assumptions. Computer, please execute Protocol 77 Alpha. The moment those words left her lips, everything changed. The Aurora's Edge, which had appeared to be a simple research vessel, began to transform. External panels slid away with mechanical precision, revealing weapon hardpoints that definitely hadn't been there moments before. The ship's hull reconfigured itself, expanding and reshaping into something altogether more menacing. What had looked like sensor arrays revealed themselves to be advanced targeting systems, and what had appeared to be research equipment became clearly identifiable as military-grade technology. "Admiral," Commander Tice's voice rose an octave. "Energy readings are spiking across all spectrums. That's not a research vessel, it's some kind of stealth warship." But even as Dices spoke, something far more impossible began to happen. The space around the asteroid field shimmered, and additional ships began to decloak. First 3, then 7, then a dozen human vessels materialized from apparent nothingness, each one bearing the distinctive angular design of human military architecture. Felt his confidence evaporating like atmosphere through a hull breach. "Impossible," he breathed. "Our sensors detected nothing." "You see, Admiral," Captain Rodriguez's voice continued over the communication channel. "Now, backed by the sight of her ship's true configuration, we've been tracking your expansion patterns for months, studying your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. Zephyrians are remarkably predictably see a lone ship and assume easy prey." The tactical display now showed 15 Zephyrian warships surrounded by 13 human vessels. The numerical advantage was still with the Imperial fleet, but somehow the balance of power had shifted dramatically. The human ships moved with a fluidity that seemed impossible for vessels of their size, adjusting their positions with micro-corrections that spoke of advanced maneuvering systems. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "I'm detecting massive energy buildups from all human vessels. They're charging weapons." Corvex's training took over, pushing aside his shock. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Target the lead vessel and fire at will." The Zephyrian fleet responded with practiced efficiency. 15 ships unleashed their primary weapons, simultaneously particle beams, plasma torpedoes, and quantum disruptors that had destroyed countless enemy vessels over the centuries. The space between the fleets lit up like a miniature star as destructive energy lanced toward the human ships. The humans didn't dodge. They didn't even seem to raise conventional shields. Every shot simply vanished, not absorbed, not deflected, vanished, as if the weapons had never been fired at all. The energy readings showed the weapons had functioned perfectly, but their destructive force had been somehow negated before reaching the human vessels. "What in the seven hells was that?" Vices whispered. "Adaptive countermeasures," Captain Rodriguez explained conversationally, as if discussing weather patterns. "We've had time to analyze your weapons systems from the aftermath of your previous conquests. Impressive technology, but predictable in its application. We developed specific counters for each type of energy signature you employ." The human ships began to move, not with the graceful arcs typical of space combat, but with sudden, violent accelerations that should have liquefied any organic crew. They darted between the Zephyrian vessels like angry insects, too fast for targeting computers to track effectively. How are they surviving those G? His navigator gasped, her four hands dancing over her console in an attempt to plot intercept courses for targets that moved like nothing in their tactical databases. Corvex was beginning to understand the true scope of what they faced. These weren't just humans with better technology, they were humans who had specifically prepared for this exact scenario. Every move had been calculated, every countermeasure planned. The first human ship to open fire did so with a weapon unlike anything in the Galactic databases. Instead of energy beams or solid projectiles, it released something that seemed to bend space itself. The Zephyrian destroyer crystal spear didn't explode, simply folded in on itself like a piece of paper being crumpled, then ceased to exist. Entirely gravitational manipulation weapon, Rodriguez's voice continued. We call it a spacefold torpedo, quite effective against vessels that rely on structural integrity rather than adaptive armor. Another Zephyrian ship died, this one dissolving at the molecular level as some kind of nanite cloud enveloped it. The crew's final transmissions cut off mid-scream as their vessel became a cloud of constituent atoms. You see, Admiral Rodriguez continued, humans don't fight fair, we fight to win. Every previous encounter you've had with our species, we've been playing by galactic conventions, hoping diplomacy might work, but you kept pushing. Corvex watched in horror as his fleet, the pride of the Zephyrian Empire, was systematically dismantled by tactics and technologies that defied everything he understood about warfare. His ships weren't being outfought, they were being outsmarted at every level. All ships, emergency hyperspace jump. He ordered retreat to Rally Point Beta, but even that was denied to them. His navigation officer looked up with eyes wide in terror. Admiral, hyperspace is being jammed. Some kind of dimensional anchor is preventing jump calculations. Rodriguez's image on the screen tilted her head slightly. Did you really think we'd let you leave to report back to your empire? At least, not all of you. Human resilience unleashed the battle that Admiral Corvex had expected to be a simple conquest had become a nightmare of impossible proportions. Of his original 15 ships, only 8 remained operational, and those were taking increasingly heavy damage from weapons that seemed to bend the very laws of physics. The humans fought with a coordination that spoke of shared consciousness, each ship responding to threats against its companions with perfect timing. Admiral, Commander, Disses reported, her harmonic voice now strained with fear. We're receiving a priority transmission from the human fleet commander. Put it through, Corvex ordered, his pride warring with the growing certainty that his fleet was doomed. Captain Rodriguez's image reappeared, but now she wasn't alone. Behind her stood several other humans, each wearing different uniforms that suggested various military branches or specializations. Their faces showed no anger or bloodlust, loadlust only the calm professionalism of people doing a necessary job. Admiral Corvex Rodriguez began, I'm going to offer you something your species rarely shows to others' mercy, but it comes with conditions. Corvex straightened, drawing on centuries of military pride. Zephyrians do not surrender, human mind. Not asking you to surrender, she replied. I'm asking you to listen. The human you see before you isn't just a ship captain. I'm Commander Rodriguez of the Terran Defense Initiative, and this operation has been months in the planning. Behind her, one of the uniformed humans stepped forward. Admiral, I'm Dr. Sarah Kim, xenobiological warfare specialist. We've spent considerable time studying your species, your biology, your psychology, your cultural patterns. We know that Zephyrians value honor above all else, which is why this offer comes with respect for your traditions. Another human, this one bearing the insignia of what appeared to be their intelligence services, added, We know about your empire's expansion plans, Admiral. 17 systems marked for conquest over the next 5 cycles. We know about the colony ships being prepared and the civilian populations that would be displaced. Corvex felt a chill that had nothing to do with the bridge's temperature. Impossible. Those plans are sealed at the highest levels of Imperial command. Nothing is impossible for a species that learns to adapt, Rodriguez said simply. We've been inside your communication networks for months, Admiral. We know your supply routes, your fleet compositions, your strategic reserves. We even know about the secret meetings where your High Council decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to develop further. The truth of that statement hit Corvex like a physical blow. The decision to preemptively strike against human space had indeed been made in the deepest chambers of the Imperial Palace, discussed only among the most trusted advisors. Dr. Kim continued. What you're experiencing here isn't random human aggression, Admiral. It's a carefully calculated demonstration. Every ship we've destroyed today was chosen specifically vessels with minimal civilian populations aboard. Ships whose crews had participated in the destruction of non-combatant colonies. You're saying you know the service records of my crews? Corvex asked, incredulous. We know everything, Admiral, the intelligence officer replied. We know that your ship, the Stellar Dominion, participated in the relief efforts after the Kepler-7 disaster. We know that Commander Vises sponsored an orphanage on her homeworld. We know that your navigator, Lieutenant Cephis, has been sending half her salary to support her sick parent. The accuracy of these details struck Corvex speechless. These humans hadn't just studied Zephyrian military capabilities, they had investigated individual crew members, learning personal details that should have been impossible for outsiders to access. This is why your ships still exist. Admiral Rodriguez explained. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in the first minutes of engagement. Instead, we targeted only those vessels whose crews had committed what humans consider war crimes. The rest of you are here to carry a message back to your empire. A new voice joined the conversation as another human ship moved into formation. Admiral Corvex, this is General Marcus Webb, commanding the Terran Third Fleet. What you've encountered today represents approximately 2% of humanity's current military capability. Corvex felt his legs weaken. 2%, the weapons and tactics he'd witnessed could have challenged the entire Zephyrian Imperial Navy, and these humans were claiming it was a tiny fraction of their true strength. The research vessel you thought you were attacking, General Webb continued, was indeed conducting research into Zephyrian military doctrine and capabilities. Dr. Rodriguez here has a doctorate in xenological warfare theory. Her crew includes some of the most brilliant military minds humanity has produced. Rodriguez nodded. We've learned that every species humanity encounters assumes we're primitive because we're young. You see our technology as crude because it doesn't match your aesthetic preferences. You dismiss our tactics as unsophisticated because we don't follow traditional galactic military doctrine. But that's exactly what makes us dangerous, Dr. Kim added. We don't fight the way you expect because we learned differently. While your species perfected the art of honorable combat over millennia, we learned to survive on a world where everything was trying to kill us. We developed pattern recognition to an art form because missing patterns meant extinction. The tactical display showed the remaining Zephyrian ships surrounded but not destroyed. The humans had arranged themselves in a formation that clearly demonstrated their superior firepower, while offering protection rather than threat to the surviving Imperial vessels. Here's what's going to happen, Admiral, Rodriguez continued. You're going to return to Zephyrian space with a message. Humanity doesn't want war with your empire, but we won't tolerate further expansion at the expense of innocent populations. The 17 systems you planned to conquer are now under Terran protection. And if we refuse, Corvex asked, though he already knew the answer. General Webb's expression was matter of fact. Then we stop being merciful. Admiral, humanity spent its entire evolutionary history fighting extinction events. Ice ages, supervolcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, plagues, and wars that nearly destroyed our civilization multiple times. We learned that survival sometimes requires doing terrible things to protect what matters most. But we also learned, Rodriguez added with a slight smile, that the strongest position is one where your enemies become your allies. The Zephyrian Empire has many admirable qualities: your artistry, your philosophical traditions, your architectural achievements. We'd rather learn from each other than destroy each other. Commander Vissis spoke for the first time during the exchange, and if we agree to carry this message, what guarantee do we have that you won't attack our home worlds? Dr. Kim answered, because that's not who we are. Humans protect, Commander. We've spent the last century helping other species with disaster relief, sharing medical knowledge, and providing aid to colonies in crisis. We only become dangerous when someone threatens what we've sworn to protect. The hyperspace jamming field suddenly lifted, and Corvex could feel his navigation systems coming back online. The path home was open, but the choice of what to do with it remained. Admiral Rodriguez said, "You came here expecting to find helpless prey. Instead, you found humans. We hope that the next time our species meet, it will be as equals rather than predator and prey. The choice is yours to make." Corvex looked around his bridge at the faces of his surviving crew. They had witnessed something unprecedented: an enemy who could have destroyed them completely but chose restraint instead. The human demonstration of power had been absolute, but their demonstration of mercy was equally impressive. "We will carry your message," he said finally. "But Admiral ... Rodriguez, why show such restraint? Your fleet could rule this sector." Captain Rodriguez's final words would echo in Corvex's memory for the rest of his life, because, Admiral, the strongest species isn't the one that can destroy everything in its path. It's the one that chooses what to preserve instead. As the Zephyrian ships prepared to depart, they carried with them more than just a message. They carried the knowledge that humanity had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before. Species powerful enough to conquer, but wise enough to protect instead.